Hi everybody, I'm Lacy Schoen, founder and CEO of Real Women, Real Success. And I'm so excited today because we're here at Second Harvest Food Bank in Orange County, California, and we're continuing our discussion about women competing in the workplace. And I'm here with one of my dear friends and colleagues, Nicole Suydam, who's the CEO of Second Harvest Food Bank, who's agreed to visit with me today about this important topic of women succeeding and women supporting each other. So thanks for sharing your time with us.
Yeah, happy that you're here.
Yeah. We're going to go on a tour later, so we're super excited about that.
Yay.
So I want to share some stats with you and have you share with our viewers your thoughts about them. Women are 50% of the population, and we're 57% of college graduates. We're only 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs, 14% of government leadership, meaning the top position.
Wow.
We get 2.7% of the available venture capital, meaning men get over 97%. Wow. And the most recent stat that I learned is that there's more CEOs in the United States named David than there are women CEOs.
Wow.
So my first big picture question for you is, what do you think is the reason for that?
You know, I think there's a lot of reasons. I think part of it is, women have a lot of choices too. I think, when I look at the choices I've made, I became a mother, and there was that fork in the road. Like, okay, am I going to work or am I going to stay home and be a mom? And of course, I chose the path to work. So there's, I think, that reason in general, because there's a choice to be made. If you're going to have children. And I think the other piece is that at times, I think we don't always go for it. We hold ourselves back.
Sure.
I think sometimes there's occasions when maybe you have those opportunities, or you think maybe I should go for that opportunity, and you hold yourself back because you don't feel like you can do it.
You're not ready.
You don't feel like you're ready.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think those are the main two reasans on my mind that women don't necessarily go for these positions.
It's interesting that Nicole brings that up, that you bring that up, and I have heard and seen many occasions where there's research in, like, if a woman's going to run for elected office.
Yep.
And she feels like she can't run for elected office because she needs 12 more degrees or whatever.
Right.
Whereas the guy who has maybe none of that just goes, okay, I'm in, let's do it. Of course I'm qualified. And if I'm not, I'll figure it out as I go.
Right.
And women don't do that as readily.
Yeah, it's true. I know when I had the opportunity to come here and apply for this job, for the CEO role, I wondered and questioned, like, oh, am I ready? Should I even put my hat in? And, so I even asked myself that question. And then ultimately I decided, you know what? You don't know if you don't try. So, put your hat in, see what happens. And so I went for it. I was the first, female CEO to run Second Harvest Food Bank.
That's exciting. That's exciting to see that change. Jumping back to what you first mentioned about making the choice between motherhood and working. I just happen to know, because Nicole and her husband are friends of ours, that you have set up your whole family life. You have your husband's support. You co-parent your children. You're not the only one in charge of that.
Right.
How important is it for women who want a career to have a spouse that works with them? And what advice would you give people who are just dating, who want to be career women?
Yeah, I think you have to have a partner that equal partner. I think that is going to be there for you. You're going to do 50% of everything together. And there's sometimes where I feel like my husband actually does more than 50%, and so I feel, awesome. And then I feel bad, like, oh gosh, I need to pick it up a little bit. I need to do more. So I think that's a good problem. The fact that, to have a partner who is in it with you, fully supportive. So if you're a single person, career woman, and you want to have a family someday, making sure you pick a partner who's going to support that career path.
Right.
It is so important.
Dean and I have been talking, Dean is my husband, that you can't have the profession and career of your dreams if you don't have the spouse of your dreams. So
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Because just people I've known, in my career who have, sorry.
That's okay. Dinner calm. That's all right.
Okay. Well,
we're at the Harvest Food Bank here, so they're continuing to do business while we're here.
Exactly. So people who I've met in my career who I know maybe have trouble in their marriage or there goes the
intercom.
The intercom again. Who are having challenges, with their relationship, or just, having a hard time managing their children. It makes it tough,
Sure.
to give it your all at work.
Yeah.
And so I think making sure that you make a good choice on that partner is 100% so important.
Yeah. So Nicole's had a really distinguished career, and before, I hope it's okay that I say, before she ran the Second Harvest Food Bank, she worked at Goodwill, was a phenomenal fundraiser there, and has definitely had a lot of experience. So my next question is, through your experience, do you think that women hold each other back? Have you experienced that?
I thought about that a little bit. I think for the most part, I want to believe that women don't intentionally hold each other back. I think it does happen. I'm certain of it. I don't feel like I've been held back by other women. I think maybe in some cases they've withheld information that could make me more successful.
Absolutely.
Or have been less than helpful.
Yeah.
And, but for the most part, I guess I have this Pollyanna viewpoint that, most people that you work with are, want to be helpful and want to be focused on the mission that you're all there for. But in reality, you do deal with challenges, and I certainly have.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned the mission, and one of the things I've heard from one of our other interviewees was that when she has issues or problems with other men or women in the workplace, she uses the mission to try to get them on board. Yeah. Now, being close to you, I know you've had situations where you've been able to do that. Can you kind of walk through for the viewers how you did that?
Yeah, I can think of one particular person that I worked with where, it was just a feeling maybe of a competitiveness where, I'm there to do the job and to work hard and get things done. And I think sometimes, when you're the new person coming into an environment, that can be good or bad. It can be good in that it makes everybody else sit up straighter and work harder because you've now set the bar higher.
Right.
Or it can become a competition.
Right.
So I definitely witnessed that, in my previous position, where you feel a little bit like, wow, this feels more competitive than I don't feel naturally that competitive. I like to collaborate. And so I had to really kind of win, certain people over by developing a relationship with them. I think getting to know them, being vulnerable with them, really helped. And I think, at the end of the day, I can look back at those relationships and say, okay, we're friends now. We can, reminisce about work now. We can talk about the challenges, and it was very healthy. But I had to really work hard and be intentional at developing relationships and being vulnerable with people who may have felt threatened or may have felt that I was competing.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we were there for the mission and to do good work for the organization. And it was critical, that, we found a common ground.
Right. So I have an acquaintance who is a retired Marine. She was a colonel, actually. And she went into teaching leadership. And later on, I'm going to talk a little bit about my book. But she's the one who suggested I write in this anthology. And when I asked her if she ever competed with other women, she said, yes, but I didn't realize I was doing it.
Wow.
And when I was called out on it, I stopped. And so when you say, it's not in me or I don't feel that way, I think sometimes women do it. It's sort of this weird instinct that they're not quite sure where they got it from. Any ideas about where that comes from?
I think part of it is just human nature. You want to do a good job, when you're in a position. And I think sometimes when you have colleagues and you all report, to the department manager or the CEO, there's that sense that you want to be the most influential person, with your boss, right? You want to hope that everything you recommend they'll agree with, and and that's not always going to happen. But I think sometimes the competition comes in just because there's jockeying for influence with the boss, with the decision maker. And I don't think it's an intentional, I'm trying to do better than they are or get more influence. But, at the end of the day, you're all there to do good work, and you want to feel appreciated, you want to feel recognized. So I think, it's not necessarily intentional.
Sure.
But it can happen.
Right. Well, and part of the reason for these videos is to just bring awareness to the issue.
Yeah.
Because I think the last thing we want to see is women start to gain ground and then have other women be the ones to undermine them.
Right.
And I have seen that firsthand many times in the workplace, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are. What do you think that professional men think when they see women actively competing, say, around a meeting table?
I think sometimes they kind of like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Can I run out the door now? I think that sometimes they're feeling like, I think, I actually find that it's sometimes a lot easier to work with men than women because we as women can take things personally.
Right.
And so I have to kind of check myself too to make sure, okay, am I taking this too personally? Like, okay, this is, we're all trying to do good work here. We're all focused on a mission. And there are occasions when I know I take things too personally too. I may hide it well, but it'll bug me for the whole night and the whole maybe day or two later.
Because that's what we do, beat ourselves up
and
over
I don't think men do that.
No.
So I think men can separate themselves and, end the day, whereas we may have to go vent about it at night, think about it the rest of the day and figure out what you're going to do next. And so I just think, I have to always look at myself and say, okay, how can I move forward?
Yeah.
I can't be in this place of taking this too personal.
Right.
So I think that's, a piece of it, definitely.
That's a really excellent point. And one of the videos I'm planning on doing has to do with separating the issue from the emotion.
Yeah, I love that.
And I have a daily practice with that too. And I had an experience last week where someone really came at me strongly. And, I am already retired from a 30-year career and moving on to a different one. So it's not like I'm a spring chicken, but I still work on that, right? And when I finally separated the way she approached me from her point, I actually learned something from it.
Nice.
And that's a really powerful place to be, but it takes years of practice. So start now. Ask yourself, what am I reacting to? And if you take out the emotion and the fact that they approached you in an insensitive way, is there actually any valuable information in the communication?
No, absolutely. I have to look at that constantly. I think I do find some communication with other women challenging. And I think, I always have to evaluate, okay, my goal with every conversation is how can I make this positive? How can the outcome be good for, both parties? And there are times when you feel like it is more one-sided, like, wow, I just got beat up, but I always try to look at, okay, what can I learn? I don't think I'm always great at that. I think I do beat myself up a lot of times and, have to figure out, how to make sure the goal is for it to be a positive, productive conversation.
Right.
And that, hopefully we're all working towards the same mission.
Absolutely. You and I both have had the discussion too about how we have both had the experience that more men have actually helped us succeed literally than women. And what I mean by that is men who give you advice that advances you, that gets you into new or higher position. I call that a sponsor. A mentor is one thing. A sponsor actually helps you, hold your hand and helps you achieve your next step. So I think what I'm interested in is creating that kind of thing among women. And I know you're a really great mentor to women who want to become CEOs and who want to improve professionally. But what would be your message to other women in terms of building that sort of, I call it the professional besties club, or the women's version of the good old boys club, but only the good part?
Right. No, definitely. I think it's an actual responsibility of every leader, whether you're a male or a female, to always be looking at building leadership at every level, whether it be somebody at an entry level wanting to move up, or somebody who's a senior person who wants to be in a CEO role. If you're a leader, you have a responsibility to create new leaders, and so that's just like, it just comes with the territory. Right. And if you're not going to do that, then you have no business being a leader, quite honestly.
Right. Okay. Well, I agree with you. That's excellent. And you certainly walk that talk.
It's so important. I think I try to remind myself every day that even just walking around my office or this facility, that you have an impact on even if it's a short conversation, or how are you, how's your family. Every interaction you have with somebody makes an impact. And then I find I really enjoy just informal sitting in the lunchroom and then being able to talk about career development with somebody without it feeling like this intimidating, let's have a meeting and talk about your career. And it becomes just a natural a way to relate to them, and hear what they're thinking, and then give them advice, because I find that in my role, I always forget. I'm like, oh yeah, they're intimidated, but I don't know why. Like, I'm just me. I want to help everybody, but I have to always remember that I have to sometimes do it in a way that's more casual versus formal.
And that's a great point too. Is that I fought this for years, and I know many people don't think about it, but people fear the title. It doesn't matter who's in it. And it doesn't always have to be the CEO title. It can be a manager or a director. If someone's above you, there's always a little bit of intimidation that comes with that title.
So
you have to
keeping
work
that
to
in
overcome
mind.
it.
And then I really appreciate there's some women who do seek you out, who want to meet with you, who want to have advice. Can we go to coffee? Can I have a call with you? And so, and I always take those,
of course.
Even if you're busy, it's like you have to do them, because someone's seeking out your advice. They want to know what steps they can take to be successful in their career. So it just comes with the territory. That
absolutely.
your goal should always be to create more leaders, especially more female leaders.
And I want to tell you too, because Nicole is modest, that she has, since she's been CEO here for how long?
5 years now.
5 years. She has really grown this place. The number of people they're feeding has almost?
Well, we've increased our number of meals, the impact that we're providing to the community, from about 15 million to now over 20 million.
That's incredible.
And then just added new programs that reach more vulnerable children and seniors who would otherwise go hungry.
And how many employees do you have?
We have 75 employees.
And volunteers?
Right now. 24,000 volunteers.
Wow.
Giving their time.
Oh my gosh.
So incredible.
That's a lot of people that
we can't function without volunteers. I mean, volunteers are such an important aspect of our work.
So the reason that I brought that up is I think because I'm doing a blog about women's success, sometimes people think that we're advocating just helping women. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to say, no, you have 75 employees, 24,000 volunteers, and you're open to coaching anybody.
I think it's important. I think one of the key things I learned recently in our employee survey was that our employees feel like we could do a better job growing the individuals who work here now. That's a major need, that professional and career development. So that's something I'm just mindful of, and regardless of if you're a male or a female. So.
Okay, well, to close out, there's we started with these stats of how underrepresented we are in leadership, and in spite of the fact that maybe we have more emotion than men, it's an asset too that sometimes really produces huge success in companies. In fact, Kevin O'Leary, one of the world's billionaires, had his top staff investigate all the companies that he's invested in, what all the top performing ones had in common, and they were all run by women.
Love that.
So, I mean, it's an economic factor that we bring something to the table that's not typically there, and there's positive money flow involved. So what would be your thoughts or your advice to young women to help start making an impact on those numbers, those small numbers of leadership at the top?
Well, I think first and foremost, I would say don't wait for a title. I think if you want to be a leader and you want to assume a leadership, an official leadership role someday, just to start assuming it now is what I would say. I think that's what I've always done in my career, and I think you don't have to wait for the title. I think there's just so many people who think, oh, I need the title, to be able to lead. It's like, no, you don't. Just do it now. And a lot of times, like, at least in my area of here at Second Harvest, if there's a need and a project, we'll create a team and a team leader. And a lot of times I'll say, I don't want it to be a manager. I want it to be somebody who wants to learn and grow and take on that problem-solving challenge.
Absolutely.
And it's a leadership role.
Right.
And maybe they don't realize it, but we're testing them for future roles in the organization to be able to take on a management, an official management and leadership role someday.
Yeah.
So I would say don't wait. And then I would also say, really following through on your promises and what when you say you're going to do something, do it.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of the success I've had in my career has been just following through on the promises I make.
Right.
I think that is so key, because people can't trust you and it's so amazing to me that when I follow through on things, people are actually surprised that I followed through.
Yeah.
Well, I said I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot to be said for that. I think there's a lot of promises made and promises not kept. And when you deliver and deliver results, that builds trust. And in which case people want to be around you. They want you to lead.
And everybody wants someone in a leadership role that they can trust. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
No, I would just say, for those of you out there who want to have a leadership role, don't be discouraged. I think while the stats are a little alarming and a little disheartening, I think it's really important that if you have a goal and you're passionate about your work, that you push through. My mom, always told me, you can do anything you set your mind to. And, she was a single mom having to raise me on her own without, many resources. And, she had a goal to make sure I went to college and didn't have to struggle the way she did. And so I would just say, pursue that goal, that dream, and know that if you work hard, you can achieve it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I know you're so busy, and I appreciate you carving out the time today.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank you guys for watching, and just do a little quick reminder that you can get a free copy of Keys to Conscious Business Growth on my website, realwomenrealsuccess.com. It's an anthology written by 20 women who have been very transparent about their struggles and how they overcame them, and I'm going to give it to you for free. All you have to do is pay for shipping. So again, thanks for watching today. Real Women, Real Success. We'll see you next time.
Distribution center. We have the whole facility is 121,000 square feet. The property was actually gifted to us from the Department of Navy when the El Toro Marine Base closed down. We have completely transformed this building into a food distribution center in our area that we call Izzy's Corner. This is a children's volunteer area. We have kids who are 7 to 13 volunteer here. We open it up a couple times a week. They come either after school on a Thursday or on Saturday we open it up. We provide these bags, and then they're packing all the onions, put them in the crates, and then this will go out on our mobile pantry. So we have trucks that go out daily to various locations, and we do fresh produce distribution, whether it be at a school or a church.
Nice.
So it's the concept of kids helping kids, and this all came about because a young girl, when she was 9, she came in here with her mom, took a tour of the food bank, and at the end said, all right, Mom, I want to write a book, and I want the money, I'm going to sell the book, and I want the money to feed hungry kids. They actually made that happen.
Wow.
And so out of that came more books written by children, so we currently have 4 books.
Oh my goodness.
Each book is $20, and then we are able to use those funds to help our program. And then out of the books came first. It became kids want to volunteer. Well, in a busy distribution center like ours, with forklifts and other kind of heavy equipment, we always had the rule that you had to be 14 and over to volunteer. Well, we realized, we can create a space. We added this fence, and so now this is more of a safe, fun environment for kids.
Sure.
To come with their parents or their troop leaders, other youth leaders. And the whole idea in mind is that we really believe that if you can teach the younger generation about these problems, then when they're adults, they're going to be ready to solve them.
Right.
You know, they don't have to wait and learn like we're all learning as adults about these problems. They're already going to be ready. They're already going to be knowledgeable. They're already going to be caring and compassionate. So we get, you know, a few thousand kids in here a year, and it's a pretty incredible opportunity. This is a installation called 214 square feet, and we house this for another great organization called Project Hope Alliance. And it's the idea, if you and your family had to live in 214 square feet, this is what it might look like. And this is the reality for a lot of families in Orange County that might be living, you know, maybe they lost their home or their apartment, and the next step might be living in a motel like this, kind of in a very chaotic situation. They're unable to, you know, get the rent they need for housing. And essentially, you know, they're in this really, you know, difficult, unstable situation. It might be one step before, you know, the car or the streets.
Right.
But we agreed to host this because we're serving many of the partners that get food from us also serve motel families.
Oh, got it.
And so it's interesting because I asked one of them, you know, how does this, you know, how do these families live and how do they eat? And she was telling me, if you go over here, we can actually go inside.
Forget to pick up a broom so we can clean our new room.
When most families live in these situations, they get creative. You know, they might use crock pots or other like plug-in type equipment. You know, they're not going to have regular stoves and ovens, and maybe they'll have a refrigerator, a small one, maybe not. But it's the idea of just living. It's kind of surviving. Many of them do work. They just have very low-paying jobs. They're not, you know, I think the biggest barrier, they're not always able to get the money you need for the rent and the security deposit and all of those things. Maybe their credit's poor. So we work with a lot of organizations that are, you know, providing support to help people get out of the situation, to get into stable housing. And in the meantime, they're hungry. They need food. They need help. So, so that's where we come in. You know, we're supplying food to these organizations. Volunteers generally work, I think there might be a break right now or a transition in shifts, but generally they work in this area or over here.
And they're boxing.
Yeah, they're checking. They might be doing boxes of food where we actually bulk purchase food, like those boxes with our logo. But we don't do as many of those, but that, you know, we have them. Or they might be checking cans or dates, things like that. We have to make sure that everything we distribute is safe.
Yeah.
Safe for consumption. All of the retail rescue, so they're looking at eggs over there, milk, all the perishables, they have to quickly check them. You have like less than 30 minutes to check because this isn't a cool environment. We gotta get it back in the cooler, and then we'll get them out for distribution. But we just have to make sure to call our product selection area. So if our partners are gonna come here to pick up food, they'll come in this area, and then the dry shelf stables in the middle, and then of course we have the cooler and the freezer. There's 10,000 square feet total here. So we just kind of looked at that and said, well, you know, we'll be able to do it. Yeah. Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Good. It's nice and quiet. You guys are pushing some food out.
Yeah, we're trying to clean it here.
Yeah, looks good. It was a lot more full. Very good. Checking the dates, checking the package, making sure there's no rips or tears, and that the can's not dented badly, all of that. So, and then once it gets checked for kind of appearance and date, it will go on the conveyor belt, and then volunteers on the other side will sort them into their categories. So then they go in, and then they go in the banana boxes. That's a good one. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So you see the center, the fire pump is